In Raid Shadow Legends, wasting millions of silver to upgrade the wrong gear is far too easy, and sorting through hundreds of artifacts and only keeping the good stuff can be very confusing. So join me as I break down all of the steps I usually take to remove the bad artifacts and start upgrading the gear that's actually good. If you end up finding this video useful, please consider subscribing, or you can use my beginner link in the description or QR code on screen to make a new raid account and get all of these awesome champions as you level up. Let's get into the guide. So I'm going to go through some gear that I've just farmed today from doing Dragon Dungeon, and you can follow this step by step to kind of get a bit more control over your gear on what to sell and what to keep. So we're going to go through it step by step, narrowing down the gear that's absolutely worthless so we don't have to waste any time on it, and keeping the gear that could be good so that we can use it for different champions. Now before I get into this, I want to say that everyone's experience is going to be very different. If you're a brand new player, you're going to want to hold on to some gear that's not quite as good because you don't have any. If you're a late game player, then you're probably not going to want to hold on to even some of the mid-tier gear that I'm going to show in this video. So it really does come down to your current progress in the game. If you're very high tier, generally you're going to want to only keep on 6-star stuff. The stars basically are going to tell you how powerful the end result of that gear is going to be. The stats will roll higher when it's a higher star. Now, if you're very new to the game, you can keep 4, 5, and 6-star gear. Not really 3-star, it's not worth it. And if you're sort of mid-tier, I think 5 and 6 is a good point to go for. Although there's some sets and stuff that you may want to hold on to for even 4-star, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, before we go any further, just a quick heads up that if you're new to Raid Shadow Legends or you want a nice fresh start in the game, make sure to use my QR code or the link in the description to get 4 amazing epic champions as you level up, and the choice between 2 amazing legendary champions as soon as you start your account with either of the promo codes on screen right now. Let's get into the gear then. So the first thing we want to do is talk about the gear stats. Every single piece of gear has a primary stat, which is the one that's in bold right here. Now, the primary stats that can roll vary from set to set, but for the most part, there's 2 things that we want to remember very importantly. Boots can have speed, and speed is an extremely important role in this game, so we never really want to sell any boots that could have speed. And on top of that, gauntlets can have critical rate %, which no other gear item can have that. These are 2 stats that are very important to keep an eye on. Now, if we go to the filter page and we go to primary stats, we can see the options that are potentially going to roll on the other pieces of gear. We have HP, HP %, attack, attack %, defense, defense %, speed, critical rate %, critical damage %, resistance, and accuracy. Out of all of these stats, some are more valuable than others. Speed is extremely, extremely important, and as you can see, it only rolls onto boots. HP % is very good if you are looking to build a support champion or a HP champion like a tank. Attack % can be good depending on the gear type. Defense % is very good once again. Critical rate %, critical damage %, resistance, and accuracy are also very important stats. The other stats that we're left with are HP, attack, and defense. Having these as your primary stats is never going to be a good idea because basically the way it works is % is going to give you a boost in stats based on a percentage. And let's just take a good example of this, okay? Let's go and pick not even that good Toragi the frog, okay? Right now his HP is 10,000. Now if I were to go and look at HP gear, let's take a look. If we go to primary stats and choose HP, this here has HP of an extra 450. Okay, an extra 450 is like what? That is about 4% of his total health right now. 4%. So that health item, HP, the flat stat of HP, would only give about an extra 4% of health. But if we go to HP % and see if we can find another helmet with such, and see if we can find another item, let's see this one. This is giving me HP 8%. Which is double what the other one was. So flat items just don't really scale very well. You always want to go for % gear. So the first thing we can do once we've got a bunch of gear is basically filter out the flat stats. And they will always be on the bottom row. The gauntlets, chest, and boots can have flat stats. So we want to go and open the filter, select these three, and then we're going to select HP, attack, and defense. These are all the flat stats. Now we're going to go through and basically sell all of this gear. What we're going to do is go sell, select all, and then we're going to go quickly have a look through all of these sets. Are there any things that we want to keep? Feral, yes, I'll keep that. Bolster, yes. Perception, perception gear is good, but this is very low gear. So we're going to get rid of that. Immortal, no. Cruel, we may want to hold on to Cruel in case we need to build a Cruel set, right? That's quite a good set, so we'll keep hold of that. I already plus 12 this, so I'll just keep hold of it for now. And then everything else, even though it's even 6-star, it's not going to turn out very well. It's not going to be good gear. It's not worth investing the silver in. So it's really worth selling. I'm going to keep Destroy, though. I think Destroy can be a very good set. So I'm going to keep hold of that. Everything else looks like it's worth selling. I'm going to keep Lifesteal as well. Could be good. Although, to be honest, these are gauntlets with flat stats. This is defense, HP. No, actually, you know what? I'm going to just straight up sell them. I don't care. I don't need that in my life. And then we have some gear here that I've rolled. This one, you know, it's boots, but it doesn't have any speed substats. This chest piece, it's not looking good. So it can feel a little bit painful to do this, to go ahead and click this button. But none of this gear is going to be worth building. You're not going to get good stats out of it because flat HP, flat defense, and flat attack just aren't really worth holding on to. So we're going to click the big sell button. Yes, you say goodbye to your gear, but you say hello to a bit of silver that you can then invest in your better gear. Now, another thing that you're going to want to do is untick all these stats, select everything besides boots, because boots can have speed and that's still very valuable. And then we're going to go to rank and rarity and go 1 to 2 star, 3 star, 4 star. Now, this depends on your progress in the game. You may even want to select 5 star if you're very end game, and you may want to hold on to 4 star if you're sort of mid game. For me personally, I don't think I'm going to sell my 4 star right now, mainly because I've got a lot of sort of faction wars to do. I neglected faction wars like crazy. So if you've got a bunch of 4 star, like a lot, then you may want to sell it yourself. But for the most part, you're probably just going to want to sell all of it. Well, definitely sell your 1 to 2 star, your 3 star, and for the most part, 4 star, and even 5 star if you're end game. So I'm going to go like that. I'm going to go to the sell button, select all again. I don't need any of this gear. Actually, I do want to keep my 4 star stuff, like I said. So I'm going to just sell 1 to 3 stars. Just clears up my inventory a bit. We're not going to need this gear. It's not going to be useful for us in any way whatsoever. So we're going to just sell that. So what we've done so far is sell all of the low star gear and also sell all of the gear that has bad primary stats. Now, the next goal is to go through all of the gear, all of these 6 artifact slots, one by one, and weed out the bad stuff. And the way we're going to do that is looking at their substats. The substats are extra stats alongside a gear item. So let's say we've got these gauntlets here. It has the primary stat of attack percent. If I move out the way, you can see it, okay? And then we have defense and HP just above my head. These 3 stats are the substats. Now, what you'll notice is if you have a rare item, it only has 2 substats. But if we find a legendary, it has 4. Now, what's important to note is all items can have 4 substats, but they'll only appear as you upgrade them. And the rarity of an item determines how many substats are already revealed. So for example, if I go here, I'll get my next substat on a rare item revealed at level 12 and the next revealed at level 16. Now, Legendary, on the other hand, has all 4 revealed already. Now, every time you roll 4 times to upgrade an item, so you upgrade an item 4 times, one of the existing substats will be randomly selected to be upgraded. So for example, if I do it here, what's going to happen is it will upgrade and it hit my critical damage. So I've now got an extra roll on critical damage. Now, what we want to try and do is find the right substats for each gear piece that fits that particular main stat. And basically, let's say what the best way to do this, for example, we'll start with gloves. We'll go through bit by bit. We'll first do HP percent, and then attack percent, and then defense percent, and then critical damage percent, and critical rate percent. So we're going to do this bit by bit with all of the gear to weed out the bad stuff, get rid of it so we're not wasting our time and silver on gear that isn't necessary, right? So basically, we want to find out which has the best substats and make sure that we keep hold of that and get rid of the ones that aren't so good. I'm probably going to move my head like over here a little bit just so that you can actually see what we're looking at. So we're going to go through now first with the gauntlets. You can do the same alongside me with HP percent, right, to begin with. Frost gear, gauntlets, HP percent. If you have HP percent gauntlets as their primary stat, HP is their primary stat. For substats, you're looking for things that go alongside HP percent. HP percent is all about providing extra health, and it's mainly going to be put on champions that need extra health. What it might be support champions or tank champions. You know, they're not going to be your damage dealers. You'll never want to have a damage dealer that has HP percent as their primary stat on their gauntlets. So in this case, the substat should be alongside that HP percent. We don't want to have HP percent gauntlets to put on a support champion and then give them rolls into critical rate and critical damage. We don't need that. We don't need to have stats in all different areas for a support champion. So this gauntlet here is a perfect example of something that's not so good. It's 5-star, which is nice. It has HP percent. You know, that's good if we want to put on support. It has critical rate and critical damage percent, both good stats. But we don't necessarily need that, right? We don't need it because where are we going to see an instance where we want to put critical rate alongside HP percent? Not many cases. Now, it goes... So I would honestly say it's probably worth just selling that. You know, like it's not really going to be good, okay? It's not going to be suiting many situations. Then we move on to this set here. HP percent. And the substats are HP, okay, and attack percent. And once again, attack percent is going to be better paired with gauntlets that have a primary stat of attack or critical rate or critical damage. This isn't going to be so good. And then we have a HP flat substat. We don't want flat substats. We want percent-based substats. Like we talked about earlier, percent-based scales so much better. So this isn't a very good set either. And then we go to here. This one, HP percent, it has HP, which isn't great, but it has defense percent. So this is worth keeping for now. It's going to help scale your support champions better with both HP percent and defense percent, which are both stats suitable alongside each other. Great, we'll keep on to that one. Destroy, HP percent, defense percent, and critical rate percent. So both of these stats are pretty good. It's worth keeping an eye on this one. HP percent and defense percent, great. And then we have this one, HP percent, has critical rate percent and resistance. Resistance helps you dodge debuffs. So a really good support piece to have. So yes, we're going to keep hold of that one as well. So now we'll sell that. And then we move on to attack percent, where things are a little bit different. This one here, attack percent, has attack, defense, and HP. They're all flat stats. The worst stats we can have. I'll keep saying it again. You want percent stats. They scale better. This looks like a decent piece at first glance, but then you realize, oh, no, that is not good. So we're going to actually sell that piece. It's not worth upgrading, even though it's 5-star, even though it has a bunch of different attacks. It's not good. Then we move on here. This one, attack percent, HP, and then speed. Now, I honestly, if I ever see a piece of gear that has speed as a substat, I personally like to keep hold of it because you never know when you might need a bit more speed. So I will keep hold of that one, even if it does have HP as a flat stat, because speed could be good. Let's see this one. Attack percent, it has attack and speed again. So worth keeping a hold of that one. We'll sell that gauntlet. And then we move on to defense percent, which is, once again, the same as HP percent, right? We want to go for sort of support style things. Now, one thing to point out, if you ever get a speed roll on a substat, I personally will always keep hold of it. You never know when you might need more speed. So for example, in this case, speed here, I'm going to keep hold of it, right? I actually sold all of my other stuff and forgot to record it for defense percent, but you want to watch out for the same things. You want to find gear that rolls also substats for HP percent, resistance, accuracy, and speed. Okay, those are the things you kind of want to go for your substats. And everything else, if you have rolls into flat HP, flat attack, flat defense, you don't need to keep it. If it rolls into things like critical rate, critical damage, or attack, it's probably not worth keeping if it's, defense percent as its primary. In most cases, because you're going to be putting that on a support champion anyway, who doesn't really need critical rate or anything for the most part. So now we've done that, we move on to critical rate percent. Remember, gloves are the only gear item that can have critical rate as its primary stat. So in my opinion, it's worth keeping a hold of all of these critical rate gloves, because you never know when you might need more critical rate, especially in the mid game. So don't even bother selling any of these, even if they have bad substats. Keep hold of your critical rate gloves. You never know when you might need them. Then we move into critical damage percent. Now, in this case, we want to try and find crit rate percent substats, because if you're using critical damage gloves, which are pretty good in the late game, you're going to need to make up for as much critical rate as possible. You want to get 100% critical rate on your champions that deal damage, right? Your damage dealers, so they can do as much damage as possible. And the majority of that critical rate would usually come from the gloves with their primary stat. If the gloves don't have a primary stat of critical rate percent, then you're going to really need to rely on substats rolling into critical rate. So for example, this immunity gauntlet here, having critical damage percent and then rolling into a flat defense and a flat defense percent is going to be no good for us in any way. We have this one here, it rolls in defense percent and HP. Once again, not very good. And then we have this one, which rolls into attack percent and defense. I'm going to keep hold of that. It's not the best that it's kind of rolled into attack percent and not crit rate, but it might roll into crit rate later, so we'll keep that. We have this one, HP and accuracy. Accuracy is an okay stat. It's a very good stat. So I'm going to keep hold of that, even though it has flat HP. And then we have this one, attack percent and speed. I'll keep hold of that. And this one, HP and speed. I'll keep hold of that because of the speed stat. Otherwise, I would sell it as well. So that's the gloves done. Then we move on to chest pieces. So when we start with our primary stats, we first start with HP percent. Now, when it comes to HP percent gear for chests, you kind of want to build into all of the percent stats and also things like accuracy, resistance, speed, the good stats, right? Just avoid the bad stats. Any flat stats aren't good. So this one, resistance, we'll keep it. Critical rate, attack, and res, we'll keep it. Critical damage, percent, and defense percent, we'll keep it. Defense, attack percent, critical damage percent, we'll keep it. Defense percent and speed, we'll keep it. We actually got lucky here. Now, when it comes to your boots, honestly, I would not sell it. I would not sell it because you might roll into a substat. Like, if you really need speed and you end up having to put defense percent boots on, you could still roll into speed as a substat and it could be worth it. So I generally don't sell any boots because I just think it's a bit risky. You never know. You may roll it into something good later on when you really need specific stats. So I just leave my boots. Now it's time to do the top row. Now, the top row are a little different. If you look at their primary stats for the top row, they can only be attack for the weapon, HP for the helmet, and defense for the shield. So they literally have flat stats as their primary stat, and you don't have a choice for anything else. So what we want to focus on in these ones is the substats. Now, the substats you want to go for really can be variable depending on what you want to build, because the primary stat is stuck. It cannot be changed. You're going to want to have a bit more flexibility when it comes to substats. So the best way is just to get rid of the bad substats and hold on to everything else. So if we first select all three of these items and then go to substats and select HP first, then we can go through these items. What we want to avoid is having these top row artifacts rolling too much into flat stats. So the HP, the attack, and the defense. We don't want to have too many of those rolls. So for example, we go here, it has resistance and HP. That's okay. It has resistance. That's a good stat. This one, accuracy, HP, defense percent, and HP percent. So even though it has one flat roll, not big of a deal. It has defense percent and HP percent, both of which are very good. We'll keep hold of that. We go through here, just checking if any of these items basically have rolls into too many flat stats. So far, it seems pretty good for the most part. Nothing that looks too bad. Trying to see if I can find an example, but we got pretty lucky with most of these items rolling into some pretty okay things. If it has percent rolls, we're fine. If it has flat stats out like crazily, then it's worth getting rid of. So HP wise, pretty good. Now we'll go to attack as the substats. Let's see. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. And that's fine. And that's fine. And then we go defense as a substat. We'll go back to the top and we go through attack and defense as a substat. So both of these have two flat this item has two flat substats. That's looking pretty bad. We don't want that. That's honestly the first time we got unlucky there. We don't want to have flat stats as our substats like this. This is too many. Flat stats are bad, okay? And then we'll go through again. Actually, we'll just sell that first so we can just click through everything easily. Defense and attack here pretty bad as well. So we're going to sell that item. Now you've got rid of all of your junk gear, your journey for gear still doesn't end there. Now it comes down to gearing up a champion and finding out what items are actually worth holding on to after you've rolled substats for them. And remember, when you start to level up an artifact, it'll roll into different substats. So you may end up getting unlucky and it rolls into something you don't need. So let's take an example. We're going to gear up Armiger, a really good champion. I know it's uncommon, but this champion is really, really good at pretty much most of the game. And I'm going to be using him to take out Spider specifically. Now, to deal with dungeon bosses, a nice set for him would be Destroy. So I'm going to take a look through my gear here and see if I can pick out some items for an attacking champion focused on the substats and primary stats. So let's first start with the boots. Boots is a great place to start. Let's see if we've got any speed boots, and we can find one here. So we've got speed boots, and they roll into a flat stat of defense and attack percent. Now, this looks like a really nice item, so long as it doesn't roll into too many flat stats. Like, we don't want defense on an attacking champion first, and we don't really want any other rolls into other flat stats. So let's first upgrade to level 4. Let's see if this is worth holding on to. So it rolled into attack percent. Great. Definitely worth to continue upgrading. Let's go again. And we get defense. Okay, not a big deal. It's not a stat that we really want to deal with, but for the time being, it's a speed boot. We're weighing our options here. It's going to be good because it's rolled into speed. So I'm happy to go ahead. We're going to upgrade this to level 12 then, and that will reveal a next substat. So let's see what we get here. We get attack. Okay, it's a flat stat of attack and a flat stat of defense. This is a pretty bad item. We've got 2 flat rolls, and one of those is for defense, which we don't really want on a attack champion. Now, I will hold on to this because it has speed on the items, and I want to build the Destroy set. So I'm not going to upgrade this anymore, and in the future, I might even potentially get rid of this. But for the time being, I'm happy to go ahead with this because it's speed boots, and it fits into my Destroy set. But I'm not going to upgrade it to level 16. Let's now move on. We'll go to the chest piece. Let's see what chest pieces we have. We have a HP percent chest piece and an HP 450. Now, I'm not really liking the looks of that. So what we're going to do instead is go chest piece and go primary stats and see if we can find something else that fits the rolls better. We're going to check out accuracy. We've got a speed item here with critical rate percent, speed, and attack. So maybe instead of going for savage, we could go for speed instead. So let's see what we can do here. Let's upgrade it to level 4 first and see what we get. We get critical rate. Okay, that's very, very good. Let's keep going. Let's see what we get next. And it rolls into critical rate again. Very, very good. Let's go to level 12. And this rolls into speed. Incredible. Actually, this is a really nice piece of gear right here because it's a 5-star. It has speed as a sub-stat, which is really good. It has critical rate, which is always very nice. And it's got an attack, which isn't the best. So I'm actually happy to take this to level 16. Very, very happy to do it. And that costs 1.2 million. We got a critical damage percent, critical rate percent, speed, and attack. Attack is the only bad substat, but, you know, even though it's a flat substat, at least it's attack and not defense or HP. And we're putting that on a attacking champion. So that's great. So now we probably want to try and fill out the rest of the destroy set first, because we need 4 pieces for that, and then we can fill in the gap with the final speed piece. So let's now go and see what we have for destroy. We're going to just turn off the filter and go to the destroy set. I really want to build this for Armiger. Let's see what weapon we have. We have a speed and critical damage percent, speed and resistance, resistance and attack percent. I'm liking the look of speed and critical damage percent here. This is definitely something that could get my eye. So we're going to go and start upgrading this one then. Let's go to upgrade 4 first, and it rolls critical damage percent. Great. Either one of those stats would have been good, honestly. Critical damage percent and speed, I'll go for any. And then we roll it to level 8, we get critical damage percent again. That's very good. Roll it to 12, reveal a new bonus substat, and we get accuracy. If that was HP or defense flat stats, I'll be a little bit worried. But accuracy, I'm very happy to do. So now we're going to go to level 16 once again, and we are all out of silver. Like you can see, it's very expensive. We've got HP as a flat stat at the end, which is a bit of a shame. Accuracy, critical damage percent, and speed. That's an okay piece of gear here. So that's very good. So now you can see the results you need to do to go through and upgrade your gear bit by bit. And now I've got a bit of a silver deficiency, so I'm going to need to go and farm some silver. And I'll probably build the rest in a future video. But you can see what you need to do to go through and make sure that you make the right decisions. If you roll like you're trying to build gear for an attacking champion, so you go for an item like this, which has accuracy on the chest plate, right? And you roll critical rate percent, great. But then you get HP flat stat and a defense flat stat. It's not going to be any good. But you got to try and roll it bit by bit until you get the stats that you want. So hopefully this helps you. I can now start building up this Armiger and get him ready for my dungeons, which I'm excited for. And maybe you've learned a thing or two as I've done so. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the comments. Cheerio.